Silence speaks louder than words. What if you stopped chasing, stopped explaining, stopped pleading, stopped trying to prove your worth to someone who walked away without a second thought? Here's the truth. When you go silent, they notice. And yes, they'll come back, not because you begged, but because you became a force they can't ignore. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to share will change how you see yourself and how others see you. This isn't just advice, it's a wake-up call. Picture this. You're a lighthouse, steady and radiant, guiding those who come near. They basked in your glow, leaned on your strength until one day they drifted away. A missed call, a short reply, then poof, they're gone. And there you are, still shining, wondering if burning brighter will bring them back. But here's the secret. It's not your light that pulls them back. It's your shadow, your absence. When you vanish, not out of pettiness, but out of power, they feel it. Your silence becomes a mirror, reflecting what they lost. We've been taught a lie. That love is won through pursuit. That worth is proven by how much you give. Wrong. Love doesn't answer to desperation. Respect doesn't grow from tears. Your value shines brightest when you stop offering it to those who don't see it. When you step back, rooted in your own strength, your absence becomes louder than any words you could say. They don't miss the one who chased. They miss the one who walked away with quiet confidence. That's when the shift happens. They'll wonder where you went, scroll through old messages, replay late-night talks in their head. Your absence doesn't just linger, it echoes. And while they're piecing it together, you're rebuilding, you're growing, you're becoming someone they can't touch, someone they can't predict. This isn't about playing games or seeking revenge. It is about reclaiming you. It's about letting them face the void they left behind while you rise above it. You're not waiting for them to return. You're creating a life where their return is just a footnote. They'll come back, trust me. But they won't find the old you. They'll find someone stronger, brighter, unshaken. And here's the kicker. You might not even care. That's power. That's freedom. In the comments, write this. I choose me. Show the world you're done waiting. You're walking forward. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around. What's coming next will redefine how you move through the world. Let's go. Number 1. Disappear like you were never there. When you make yourself scarce, you become impossible to forget. Let's be real, friends. If you want them to return, if you want to flip the script and take back control, you need to vanish. Not partially, not with little hints, completely, like you never existed. Your first move isn't a text. It's not justifying your absence. It's not trying to make them miss you. It's silence, total disappearance, a stark void where your presence once was. Believe me, that silence speaks louder than any words you could shout. Imagine this. You were their constant, their sun rising every morning. You replied to their messages. You heard their complaints. You overlooked their disrespect. You stood firm like a lighthouse, waiting for them to sail back to your love. But they took you for granted. They thought the sun would always rise no matter how they acted. So what happens when that sun doesn't show up one day? When the light they relied on just vanishes? Doubt creeps in, confusion, panic, then clarity. The one they thought would always be there isn't. Here's where people get it wrong. They think being more available will make someone stay. They think constant presence proves love. They think showing up every time the other person pulls away earns respect. But love doesn't thrive on availability. It thrives on mystery. Respect doesn't come from familiarity. It comes from distance. You don't prove your worth by staying. You prove it by leaving. But what if they forget me? What if they move on? That fear is what traps most people. The worry that if you're not constantly proving your value, they'll replace you. Here's the truth. If someone forgets you because you stopped chasing, they never truly valued you. Why would you want someone who only sees your worth when you're begging for their attention? Vanishing isn't weakness. It's not petty. It's not a game. It's discipline. It's self-respect. It's silence wielded as a tool of power. When you disappear, you make them confront what you brought to their life. They feel the void. They notice the absence. They hear the silence and start questioning themselves, not you. Why does vanishing work so well? Because it creates a gap in their world that no one else can fill. They'll try to fill it. They'll turn to distractions, swipe on apps, laugh with new faces, post happy photos, act like they're fine. But in the quiet of the night, when the world slows down and the lights dim, they'll feel what's missing, and it won't be noise, it'll be you. Isn't this just playing games? No, you're not playing games. You're refusing to play theirs anymore. You're done being an option. You're done being taken for granted. You're done being an afterthought. Vanishing isn't about hurting them. It's about freeing yourself. It's about saying with your silence, I won't beg to be valued. It's not easy. You'll want to reach out, to check if they've noticed, to see if they care. You'll be tempted to post something vague, to hint, to get a reaction. But every time you break your silence, you signal that you're worth it. It's up for debate. You teach them that they just need to wait and you'll return. Stop showing people you're a revolving door. You're not. You're a one-way exit. And when you leave, you do it with strength, grace, and finality. Let's debunk another myth. If I love them, I should fight for them. Wrong. You fight for love, but not for someone who's already walked away from the fight. You don't chase someone running in the opposite direction. You plant your feet, stake your ground, and let them realize they left a battle they weren't ready to lose. What happens when you truly vanish? Not just physically, but emotionally, energetically, spiritually. They feel it deeply. They feel the connection break. They sense the shift in the air. They hear the silence like a roar. Because until now, they still had a piece of you. But when you take it all back, that's when the dynamic shifts. And if they don't come back, you're still winning. You've reclaimed your peace, your clarity, your self-respect. You've stopped performing for someone who didn't appreciate your rhythm. You're no longer living for scraps of attention. You've taken back your power. And that's worth more than any lukewarm return. So I ask you, can you be bold enough to disappear? Can you sit in the silence and let them wonder? Can you let them feel the weight of your absence without checking if they're looking? Can you be the mystery they can't unravel? Because if you can, they'll come back. Not out of pity, not out of curiosity, but out of need, out of realization, out of longing for something they once overlooked and now can't replace. Say it loud and drop it in the comments. I am the silence they'll never forget. Prove it. To them, to yourself, to the world. Show them you're done chasing those who couldn't see your light until it was gone. Number 2, rewire your energy. They'll sense the change without you saying a word. You've gone silent, you've vanished like a shadow in the dark, and now the energy starts to shift. But this next step, my friends, isn't just about staying gone. It's about who you're becoming in that absence. It's about what they feel, not see, not hear, but feel when you're no longer there. Because energy doesn't lie. When your vibration shifts, the entire connection transforms with it. Let me ask you this. Have you ever stepped into a room and felt a heavy vibe without a single word spoken? That unspoken tension in the air? That's energy, raw, real, undeniable. It can't be faked, and it can't be ignored. Now picture this. If a stranger's mood can charge a room, what happens when you completely rewire your emotional state after pulling away from someone who once held a piece of your soul? They feel it, and it hits them deep. Most people think they need closure, a final message, a dramatic exit, but that's not power. That's clutter. True power is silence with intention. True power is when their name no longer lingers in your heart, even if their memory lingers in your mind. When your inner energy shifts, when you stop yearning, chasing, or dreaming, they feel it in their core, like a door has locked with no key in sight. Let's be real. At first, your energy was probably spilling everywhere. You were consumed, replaying their words, checking their profiles, treating old texts like sacred relics. You were giving your precious mental space to someone who walked away like it was nothing. That version of you? They were used to that frequency. They could sense your attention even when you weren't reaching out. They felt your longing even when you didn't text, and that gave them control. But now, you're cutting the cord. You're pulling the plug. You're shifting from fixation to focus, and that, my friends, shakes them. Why? Because you were their emotional anchor, their fallback, their safety net. When that energy goes quiet, they start to unravel. They start to question. They start to feel something they never saw coming. Nothing. That's not anger. That's not resentment. That's indifference. And indifference is the most potent energy you can project. Think of it like a radio signal. For so long, your frequency was locked on them. Every thought, every vibe, every quiet moment tuned to their station, playing songs they didn't value. But now, you're switching channels. You're no longer broadcasting pain. You're no longer sending signals of hope. You're done transmitting emotions to someone who tuned out. Instead, you're rewiring your frequency. Here's what that looks like. You wake up and focus on your dreams before their memory creeps in. You pour into your health, your mind, your peace. You surround yourself with people who lift you up, not pull you down. You catch every thought drifting to the past and redirect it to shape your future. And slowly, almost mystically, they sense the disconnect. Because when your energy shifts, everything shifts. This isn't just spiritual talk. This is science. This is vibration. Humans are energetic beings, and relationships are webs of emotional energy. When you pull your energy back from their orbit, they feel empty, unmoored, unsatisfied, and they start craving the warmth they once took for granted. But here's where most people stumble. They go silent on the outside, but their energy is still tethered, still checking, still hoping. And that's why it doesn't work. You can't just cut contact outwardly. You have to cut it inwardly. You have to declare, I release you from my mind. I release you from my energy. I release you from the lie that I need you to be complete. Because you don't. You never did. You just lost sight of your own spark. You forgot your fire. Now it's time to stop waiting for them to return and start becoming someone who doesn't care if they do. Don't just act the part, live it. The second you stop reacting, stop hoping, stop energetically clinging, they'll feel it. Even if they never admit it, even if they pretend they're unbothered, trust me, they feel it. They'll think of you out of nowhere at night. They'll feel uneasy when they see your name but hear nothing from you. They'll wonder if they misjudged you, if they waited too long, and that wondering becomes a storm, all because you rewired your energy. Picture this, a fire. Feed it and it roars. Starve it and it flickers, then fades. Their ego, that fire, was blazing because you kept fueling it with your attention. But now you're done. Now you're fueling yourself, and their fire? It's dying out. In that darkness, they realized something. The flame was never theirs, it was yours. They never owned it. They just stood close enough to feel its warmth. But now, you've taken your fire elsewhere, and they're left in the cold. So here's your reminder, in case no one's told you. You are energy. You are power. And when you reclaim that energy from places that no longer serve you, you become magnetic again, but this time from strength, not need. Say it with me and drop it in the comments. I reclaim my energy. Say it loud. Let it resonate in your space, in your heart, in your soul. You are not their fallback. You are not their second option. You are a new frequency, one they can't touch unless they rise to match it. You don't chase anymore. You attract. You don't wait. You grow. You don't explain. You evolve. And when they feel that shift, the chase begins. But by then, you might not even want to be caught. Stay with me. We're just getting started. Number 3, rebuild yourself in total silence. Sometimes, the greatest comeback is becoming everything they thought you'd never achieve. You've gone quiet. You've stepped back. To them, it looks like you've vanished, or so they assume. But what they don't see is that in your silence, you're not breaking, you're not waiting, you're not even hoping, you're rebuilding, piece by piece in the shadows, without fanfare, without their approval, without them. And that's what they never saw coming. Most people think silence equals pain. They imagine you curled up, broken, scrolling, weeping. They picture you longing for them, replaying old moments, falling to pieces. That's the narrative their ego spins because it keeps them feeling powerful. It keeps them in charge. They think they left you frozen at the same emotional spot where they walked away. But what if I told you? Silence is where strength is born. Picture a blacksmith in a dim room. No crowd, no praise. Just fire, sweat, and metal. He shapes the blade in solitude, forging it, sharpening it, perfecting every edge. No one witnesses the work, only the outcome. That's you now. You're the weapon being crafted in silence. You're the future they won't recognize. While they're out there flaunting, posting, laughing, pretending, you're in the workshop, in the gym, in your books, in your mind, training, evolving. And my friend, when that transformation finally shows itself, they won't know how to process it. Here's the truth they won't admit. They thought you needed them. They believed their exit would shatter you. They assumed you'd stay stuck on pause, reaching, waiting, spiraling. But instead, you did the unimaginable. You turned silence into your sanctuary. You turned your pain into your power. Let's be real. It wasn't easy. Those first nights without their voice, they stung. That empty ache in your chest, it was real. Those moments when you nearly texted them, you felt that tug, the urge to remind them you exist, that you cared, that they mattered. But you didn't. You held firm, because a voice inside you said, don't chase what left you behind. Build something it can't touch anymore. So now you're building, and I'm not just talking about your body or your bank account. I'm talking about your mind, your identity, your peace, your purpose. Because you don't just want to look better, you want to be better. The kind of better that radiates from your presence and makes them wonder what they lost. Let's talk about the transformation they never expected. First, the physical. Not for show, for discipline, for self-respect. You start treating your body like a sacred space, not a dumping ground. You move with purpose, dress with intention, carry yourself with a stance that says, I don't seek attention, I command it. But deeper than that, the mental transformation, the mindset shift, that's where the real change happens. You start feeding your mind, not your impulses. You cut the distractions, you learn, read, reflect, grow. You stop chasing their validation and start chasing your own excellence. And what happens next? You stop wondering, do they miss me? And start asking, do I even want them back? You stop checking their posts and start checking your progress. You stop dissecting their actions and start examining your own patterns. You don't just silence you silence the old version of you that accepted what never should have been tolerated. And bit by bit, day by day, something inside you shifts. That broken heart, it beats stronger. That self-doubt, it fades away. What takes its place is a quiet, unshakable confidence that doesn't need to be posted, proven, or explained. Silence is misunderstood. People think it's the absence of noise, but real silence is the presence of power. It's where you rediscover your voice, where you tune out their chaos, where you stop performing for people who never applauded. Silence is the foundation where your next chapter grows. But here's where most people falter. They stay silent for a few days, maybe a week. Then they slip. They reach out. They check in. They peek at the page. They let the old energy creep back into their new life. And just like that, their progress unravels. Not you. You're done breaking your silence for their attention. You're not disappearing to be missed. You're disappearing to evolve. And let's be clear, this isn't about revenge. It's not about making them jealous. It's about walking so far toward your growth that when they look back, you're no longer in their orbit. That's the vision. That's the mission. Because one day, they'll think of you. They'll have a moment. Maybe they'll hear a song you loved. Maybe they'll see someone who reminds them of you. Maybe they'll just wake up and feel that strange void where your presence used to be. And they'll check. They'll search. They'll scroll. What they'll find is a version of you they don't know. Someone polished, stronger, sharper, untouchable. And suddenly, their fantasy of you waiting, broken, stuck, it collapses. They'll realize they didn't just lose you, they lost a future they can't access anymore. And that realization? That's the price of underestimating someone who chose silence over desperation, of leaving someone who turned pain into fuel, of walking away from someone who rebuilt instead of reacted. So today, if you're feeling the weight of silence, embrace it, trust it. Let it shape you. Let it strip away every part of you that once settled for less. Let it carve a future that doesn't just look good, but feels right. One that doesn't rely on their presence to feel complete. Say this out loud and drop it in the comments right now. I am rebuilding in silence. Let it be your mantra, your promise, your declaration that from this moment on, you are no longer the person they knew. You're becoming someone they'll never deserve again. Stay with me. We're not finished yet. The next step will show you how to turn this silent strength into something even more powerful: emotional detachment. That's when the game truly shifts. Number 4, let them dwell in their own silence. Don't pursue them with words. Let the silence speak what your voice never could. You've gone quiet. You've stopped explaining. You've stopped showing up. You've stopped being the one who always cared more. And for the first time, they're left alone with the one thing they've dodged all along: their own silence. No distractions, no comfort, no emotional safety net, just them and the emptiness you left behind. And that silence, it's not hollow, it's deafening. Here's the truth. Silence isn't the absence of care, it's the consequence of disregard. You didn't go quiet because you stopped feeling. You went quiet because they stopped listening, because they stopped showing up, because they took your presence for granted and expected you to keep giving without being replenished. But now the dynamic has shifted. Now they face the echo of their own choices. Imagine this: a space once filled with your laughter, your warmth, your emotional presence. Now it's cold, still, empty. They try to drown it out with noise. They scroll, they message others. They post photos screaming, "I'm fine," louder than they feel. But beneath it all is silence. And that silence carries your name. They start hearing you in the quiet, in the moments where your voice used to be, in the times they expect you to reach out, to check in, to forgive. But you don't. And that's when something unsettling happens. For them, they start to feel the weight of their own actions. When you were there, they never had to confront themselves. You were their distraction, their emotional mirror, their comfort zone. Whenever they felt empty, they could lean on your energy, your effort, your reliability. But now, you've removed that crutch. Now they face the mirror without your reflection. And it's a mirror they weren't prepared to face, because now they're asking questions they used to ignore. Did I ruin this? Why aren't they chasing me? Are they truly done? These questions start as murmurs, but the silence amplifies them over time. And when distractions run dry, that's when reality hits. Don't mistake this for regret, not yet. Regret comes later. What they're feeling now is disorientation, because they thought you'd always be there. They assumed you'd cave eventually. They believed their distance gave them power. But now, your silence is the louder voice in the room. And here's the fascinating part. They don't know how to process it. Because you're not playing the role they expected. You're not reacting. You're not breaking. You're not reminding them you care. You're just gone. Not angry. Not bitter. Just gone. That absence is magnetic. Not because you're trying to manipulate, but because human nature struggles with indifference. We're wired to respond to loss, to chase the unknown. And right now, you are the unknown. You're not giving them a story. You're not feeding their ego. And that mystery, it starts to unravel them. But here's the beauty of it. You're not doing anything. You're just letting them sit in their own silence, letting them feel the void they once overlooked. And in that stillness, they begin to grasp what you meant to them, not because you told them, but because they feel it. Most people rush to fill the silence. They break no contact because the quiet gets too loud. They send a text, they post a hint, they check in and just to see if they still matter. But every time you do that, you ease the pressure they're meant to feel. You give them air and they breathe easy. Don't do that. Let them struggle. Let them sit in their own chaos. Let them replay the last conversation. Let them scroll through old messages wondering why your name hasn't appeared. Let them feel what it's like to not be instantly forgiven. Let them know what it's like to lose someone who truly showed up. That's not cruelty. That's accountability. That's emotional justice. And let's be clear, this isn't just about them. This is about you. Because silence doesn't just hold them accountable. It heals you. It gives you room to think clearly, to detach, to grow. It offers perspective. It lets you step back and see the truth. They never had the power. You just gave it to them, but not anymore. Now, your silence is your boundary, your self-respect, your line in the sand. And here's what you'll notice. They'll start reaching out, subtly, viewing your stories, liking your posts, asking mutual friends about you, testing the waters with casual messages. But don't confuse curiosity with commitment. Let them wonder. Let them grapple with the reality that you're no longer available for half-hearted efforts and scraps. This is your power now. Your silence is proof that you've outgrown the version of yourself that begged to be chosen, that chased, that tried to prove worth to someone who couldn't match your effort. You're not that person anymore. You're someone who knows the loudest statements aren't made with words. They're made with actions, or the absence of tishikonchatis. You're not waiting anymore. You're not hoping. You're not clinging. You're becoming. And if they want to be part of this new reality, they'll have to do something they've never done before. Earn it. With consistency, with clarity, with genuine effort. Not lazy check-ins or guilt-driven texts, but real presence. But that's for later. For now, you let the silence do its work. You let them feel it. You let it resonate. Because nothing teaches faster than the absence of a presence they took for granted. Say this out loud and drop it in the comments right now. They can sit in the silence. Not because you're bitter, but because you've leveled up. You've reclaimed your voice by using none at all. And the best part? While they're trying to figure out if you still care, you're evolving into someone who doesn't need the answer. Stay with me, because in the next step, we're not just staying silent, we're going to control the narrative without saying a word. That's when things get dangerous for them. Number 5, shape the narrative without a word. Step away from the chaos and let your silence craft the story. You're gone now, quiet, absent, emotionally detached, and from the outside, it seems like you've simply moved on. But here's what most people miss. When you go silent, you don't vanish from the narrative. You take charge of it. Not with words, not with explanations, but with the most potent force in human psychology, curiosity. Because now they don't know what you're doing. They don't know what you're thinking. They don't know if you're hurting or healed. And that uncertainty, that gap, that void, it drives them wild. You see, my friends, humans crave closure like it's oxygen. We need answers. We need resolution. And when someone denies us that, when they leave without a final word, without a neat ending, our minds start spinning tales over and over until it becomes an obsession. That's the power of silence. It's not just absence. It's unanswered questions. It's leaving things open-ended. It's walking away without justifying your exit. You don't text, "I'm done." You don't post, "I'm moving on." You just disappear, calm, composed, unshaken. And that silence leaves a trail of what-ifs. What if you found someone else? What if you've realized your worth? What if you no longer want them? What if they never mattered as much as they thought? Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a film that cuts off mid-scene. No ending, no credits, just a blank screen. What do? You don't walk away. You sit there, puzzled, curious, fixating on what it meant, trying to piece together what you missed. That's what your silence does. It turns you into an unsolved puzzle, and people chase puzzles. They don't chase endings. Now here's where the real shift happens. They thought they controlled the story. They thought they had the final say. But your silence snatched the pen from their hand. You're not explaining yourself. You're not defending yourself. And now you've rewritten the narrative. Because when they don't hear from you, they start hearing about you. They'll check your social media. They'll ask mutual friends. They'll replay your last words. They'll try to piece together a story that doesn't exist. And every time they do, they create a version of you that's stronger than the one they left behind. Because mystery breeds power, and power breeds attraction. But here's where most people falter. They try to orchestrate the silence. They post too much. They throw subtle shade. They drop hints. They try to shape the story by telling it indirectly. But when you do that, you don't look powerful. You look desperate. So here's the rule. Don't stage transformation. You don't need cryptic captions. You don't need to fake happiness. You don't need to prove anything. You need to live authentically, quietly, purposefully. Let your life speak without a sound. Let your growth be the plot twist they never expected. And trust me, they will notice. They will see it. In the eyes of people who know you, in the glow you didn't broadcast, in the strength that doesn't beg for applause. People feel your power when you stop advertising your pain. Want to truly unsettle them? Don't block them. Don't erase them. Let them watch. Let them sit in the theater of your silence, waiting for a scene that never plays. And while they're waiting, you're out building something they can't reach. This isn't about revenge. This is about redirecting the energy, because until now, they've owned the narrative. They set the pace, the tone, the conclusion. But now, you're the storyteller. You decide what comes next. Let's be real. Silence doesn't just change how they see you. It changes how you see yourself. You stop needing to be understood. You stop needing to justify. You stop needing someone to validate your pain. And when you reach that point, you're untouchable. Because someone who doesn't seek external closure is someone who can't be swayed again. And here's the paradox. The more they wonder what you're doing, the more they wish they were part of it. The more they don't know how you feel, the more they want to feel needed by you. That's not a game. That's psychology. Mystery makes people project their own guilt, their own doubts, their own fantasies onto your silence. And when they do, you live in their mind rent-free. Not because you're holding on, but because you let go so fiercely that it shattered their sense of control. Let's debunk another myth while we're here. If I don't explain myself, they won't get it. Good. Let them not get it. Let them wrestle with their confusion. Because if someone needed you, pain spelled out to care, they never cared in the first place. Your silence isn't about being misunderstood. It's about being unavailable. Unavailable to disrespect, unavailable to manipulation, unavailable to people who couldn't value you when you gave everything. So today, if you're tempted to break the silence, don't. Let the silence breathe. Let it speak for you. Let it rewrite the story until they're desperate for a sequel they no longer have access to. Say this out loud and drop it in the comments right now. My silence tells the story. Not because you're hiding, but because you've outgrown the need to be heard by those who never listened. Show them your absence isn't punishment. It's evolution. It's the plot twist they never saw coming. And the best part? You're just getting started. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we're diving deeper into the paradox that flips everything. The moment you stop caring is the moment they start chasing. Number 6, the paradox of attraction. Stop caring and they start chasing. The moment you no longer need them is when they need you most. Let's shatter the myth right now. You never had to care more to be loved more. You never had to prove your worth by being the one who stays, who gives, who sacrifices everything for someone who didn't even meet you halfway. You thought showing them how much you cared would make them choose you. You thought your love would keep them close. But my friends, it doesn't work that way. Here's the hard truth. The more you care, the more they pull back. The more you overgive, the less they value it. The more available you are, the less mystery you hold. And mystery, my friends, is the pulse of desire. Picture this. You're in a desert holding a glass of water. They're thirsty at first, so you share it. They drink. But then, you keep offering. Every moment, every hour. You don't even check if they're thirsty anymore. You just keep pouring. You flood them. And suddenly, they don't want it. Not because the water lacks value, but because it's too easy, too constant, too there. That's how attraction works. People don't crave what's already overflowing. They don't chase what's standing still, arms outstretched, begging to be noticed. They chase what's moving, what's uncertain, what feels just out of reach. That's what stirs the primal instinct. That's what ignites curiosity, respect, and pursuit. But when you care too loudly, when you show too much devotion, when you orbit your entire emotional world around someone who hasn't earned it, you don't inspire love. You create comfort, and comfort without effort kills desire. Here's what happens when you stop caring. Their world tilts, their emotional rhythm falters, the pattern they counted on, your texts, your attention, your validation, vanishes. And suddenly, something strange happens. They start wondering where your energy went. They start thinking about you more than they ever did when you were pouring everything into them. Because now, you're unpredictable. You're unavailable. You've detached. And detachment, that's not indifference. That's power. Let me be clear. Stopping caring doesn't mean you shut off your emotions. It doesn't mean you turn cold or bitter. It means you stop investing in someone who doesn't invest in you. It means you take all the energy you were giving them and redirect it inward to your growth, your transformation, your peace, your purpose. And that shift, that internal rewiring of your focus, it radiates. They sense it before you even share a thing. They feel it when you stop reaching out, when you stop reacting, when you stop trying to fix their feelings while you're breaking. And for the first time, they start to feel what it's like to lose your presence. Not your words, not your body, your presence. And that absence burns, quietly, slowly, until one day they feel that knot in their gut. The one that says, "I messed up." But don't get it twisted. They won't admit it right away. In fact, they might act even colder at first. They might pretend they don't care. Why? Because they're testing you. They're used to being the center of your universe, and now that you've pulled back, they're trying to see if it's real, if you truly don't care anymore, if you've actually moved on. And the more genuine your detachment, the more they start to panic. Why? Because indifference creates unpredictability, and unpredictability feels like loss, and people don't fear rejection, they fear becoming irrelevant. That's what sparks the chase. That's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to win them back, they start trying to win you back. They'll test the waters. They'll send a subtle text, maybe react to a story, maybe leave a comment on a post, something safe, low effort. Don't respond with emotion. Don't rush to reconnect. Let them wade in that uncertainty. Let them earn their way back into your peace, because you're not the same person they walked away from. And here's the beauty of this paradox. You might not even want them anymore, because by the time they start chasing, you've built something stronger inside yourself. You've tasted what it's like to not care, and it's peaceful, it's calm, it's freeing. And maybe for the first time, you realize you're not chasing them because you're no longer the version of you who needed them. You've outgrown the narrative, you've healed from the illusion, and now you get to choose, not out of fear, not out of history, but out of who you've become. Because the truth is, you never needed to chase love, you just needed to stop running from your own worth. And when you stop caring about being chosen, you start choosing yourself. And that, my friends, is when everything changes. So if you've been caring too much, if you've been holding on, if you've been trying to fix it with effort, let this be your moment. Let go. Detach. Feel the freedom that comes from not caring what they do next. And say this with me. Drop it in the comments right now. The less I care, the more I attract. Because it's not a game. It's alignment. It's energy. It's self-respect, disguised as indifference. Let them come to you. Let the silence speak louder than your words ever could. And when they show up asking what happened to the old version of you, just smile and tell them, "I stopped caring." That's what happened. Stay with me. The next step will test everything you've built, because when they reach out again, you're going to learn how to respond with calm control and unshakable emotional strength. That's when the real power takes hold. Number 7. When they reach out, don't surrender your power. Just because they knock doesn't mean you have to answer, and they will reach out, not because you pleaded, not because you explained, not because you lingered, but because your silence, your absence, your detachment became too loud to ignore. Their ego might pretend they're unbothered. Their posts might scream they've moved on. But trust this, if your energy was real, if your presence mattered, they felt the void. And now they're curious, or worse, afraid you no longer want them. But here's where most people unravel everything they've built. They break the silence too soon. They swing the door wide open. They act like nothing happened. You see their name light up your phone, and suddenly old emotions rush back. You think, this is it. They get it. They miss me. But hold on. This isn't your moment to rejoice. This is your final test. Because how you respond now defines everything, not for them, for you. You are not who you were when they walked away. You're not that emotionally tethered version, clinging to crumbs. You're not desperate for closure or affection. You are rebuilt. You are transformed. You are observing, not chasing. So when they come back, and they will, you don't rush. You don't spill your heart. You don't hand over your power wrapped in eagerness. You observe, calm, steady, in control. Because their return means nothing until their actions prove otherwise. They might send a, "Hey," or a, "I was thinking about you." But unless they bring clarity, accountability, and effort, you owe them nothing. That first message, it's a test, not a commitment. They're not sure you're truly gone. They're probing. And if you respond with too much energy, too much emotion, too much availability, they reclaim the power. They know you were waiting, and the cycle starts again. So don't give it to them. Not yet. Maybe not ever. If their return is genuine, they'll work for it. They'll show up. They'll try harder. And if not, that's your answer. You've already proven the most powerful thing you could. You don't need them. So let this be your rule. They return on your terms, or they don't return at all. Say it with me. Drop it in the comments. I don't open the door for weak energy. And if this journey has ignited something in you, if you feel stronger, clearer, more powerful than ever, then you already know. You've won. You never needed their love to be enough. You needed your silence to rediscover who you are. Now, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Remind them what real power feels like. And always remember this: they may come back, but by the time they do, you might not even want them anymore. That's victory.